pretty good buck down there right behind that tire. There he's walking. Anyhow, blinds right there. It's going to be a hot setup in more ways than one. But we'll have to see how it plays out. We're just coming back, and you're going to find this shed antler, this mule deer antler, right along with the non-typical Norwakian. There you go. He might be an old one, but he's still a shed. We're going to pick him up together. There we go. First time human hand ever touched that. Out here in KC, Wyoming, on the Outlaw Trail with Chuck Cureton Ridgemaster Outfitters. Well, this is my good friend Chuck Cureton, owner operation of Ridgemaster Outfitters. We've known each other for over 2 decades now, and that antler that he found in his hand, it wasn't found on a 100-acre farm back in the Midwest. It was found out there in that total vastness. What's the odds of that? And that man right there traverses back and forth. There's a lot of men that think they're rich because they got paper money in another man's bank. This man's a millionaire. He can take people's lives in his hands, put them in places where few men would walk or go. He's a modern day mountain man out here on the high plains prairies. And that's Chuck Cureton getting the job done for you. Now, he ain't going to guarantee you're going to kill an animal, but what he's going to guarantee you're going to go step back in history. You look at that, what'd you call that, the Outlaw Trail?
That's the Outlaw Trail. That's
what that ridge is back there. Few of you are ever going to see this in life. This man ventures out and finds things like this on a daily basis. Modern day mountain man in the prairie, Chuck Cureton, my good friend.
Come out and see us in Wyoming. You'll be rich in memories. It's not all about killing. I hope everybody kills one, but this is what it's about. Something you'll never forget in your whole life. Maybe you could pass something like that on to your kids through your photographs or your stories, but come out and see us sometime.
What you're about to see is pretty cool. There they go. Hope there's foxes right there.
I'm gonna have to call you back. We're taking the videos. Okay, yeah, bye.
That's pretty cool to see them foxes. There was 2 of them laying right there in the prairie. One looks like it might be hurt. You don't see that very often. That's out west, folks, right there. There's eagles sitting on a nest up there. It's a big nest. How many years that nest do you know has been up there?
20.
20 years they've been roosting there. Right out in the middle of nowhere. Bald eagles. Amazing. There you go. Wyoming at its best. Daybreak. There he is. There's a nice buck right there. Nice wide one. Sun's a little issue right now, but you can see him in there. Yeah. North America at its best. For you people that really want to go on to a safari, Ridgemaster out here offers day trips. He can take you out and show you North America wildlife the way it is. You don't got to go to Africa for a safari. Right here in your backyard, right in your own country. Well, There's Mother Nature. That little fawn probably never lived all that long, but was born on the prairie and demised on the prairie. Met its demise on the prairie, but one thing about it, as I've always stated, nothing went to waste. Many other wild animals and insects fed off of that, and that's the cruelty, if you call it cruelty, or the reality, either way you want to look at it. But absolutely nothing went to waste, because I'm making a video of it, and that's got some value. Yeah, I don't know how this is going to come out, but we're going down to the blind right now, and you can see the vastness out here that you're hunting in. And once again, I want to make that point. If you have health issues, take that into consideration, because you may be as dead as that little fawn antelope out here. That's nature's way of taking care of the weak and the sick. Okay, the first thing we got to do, remember I told you always bring a shovel? Well, the outfitter set the blind up, but you got to critique it to your style. And with my stool that I'm going to sit on, it's higher than the window. So I'm going to have to dig into this ground with this shovel and lower, make me a hole so I can set my seat down in there. So then when I draw, I can shoot sitting down. Without this shovel, you would have to compromise that. I got plenty of time to do it, so I'm going to start digging, and I'll give you a bird's eye view of how hard this ground is. This will let you know, and you want to get this done early. But you couldn't, if you didn't have this little spade, you'd be up that creek without that paddle. This is rock. It's going to take some time, but it's going to be well worth it. That's solid over there. Our GIs used this, was a government issued spade, so they used it to dig in to save their lives, and so that's why I rely on it. Digging down to level up your seat. Now you can see that we got our seat adjusted. The outfitter doesn't know how high your seat is, and you don't know how high it's going to be. So that's why it's important to carry that shovel. Now, here's an important tip. You see this dirt that we dug out? Do not throw that out of your blind. The color alone will be darker. Those antelope will cue in on any different coloration that's in their environment. Because remember, this stuff hasn't changed in hundreds and thousands of years. So if you start throwing that wet dirt or that moist dirt outside your blind, they're going to cue on that. Then they're going to start looking at the blind real hard, and chances are that's where you're going to get picked up for any human movement. That's going to give them some curiosity to look at. That gets spread out on the floor of your blind. It does not get through out the window. That's the first mistake a lot of people make. Just any minute change in this total wilderness prairie setting, those animals will key in on instantly. So that will be spread out around my cooler, and that'll soften the ground up. I can put my feet on it also. Don't throw that outside. I don't know if you can see this, but the reason you had to dig this in is you notice this blind, the roof of it's sloping, so that puts the windows at a different height. So if you tried to sit on the ground, you'd be shooting at that top small area. It would be your only area. I want this wider area. So you had to dig your seat down deeper to offset the slope of the blind, plus level up your seat, because you're going to sit here for a long time and you want to be as comfortable as you can. So, but remember, do not throw any vegetation or anything out of your blind. Just put it in perspective that you are being the hunted also, and you don't want to give your position away to the resident hunter here, in this case being the antelope, and they can key in on it, and if they key in on it, the jig is up. So Keep everything as natural as you can. Well, lack of mud here at this situation. It's so dry. We got a little face paint. Time to get that on. Try to disguise them critters. Oh, yeah. Get a little bit of black face on. Oh, it's going to be up close and personal. You don't never know when it's going to be. So, but this is magnificent land out here. I tell you, it's so vast and so untouched that you can never go home without anything. Just because the tag that you draw is a vehicle that puts you here. And that was what Teddy Roosevelt wanted when he came up with the Boone and Crockett Scoring Club, was to get the adventurous hunter out of his back 40, out of his comfort zone, and let him get into different geographical areas in this North America continent. And hunting is a good vehicle to do that, because without hunting I wouldn't be sitting here looking at history. And I'll elaborate a little bit on that. This rock outcropping in front of us runs for miles and miles, and they wrote a book on it, and it was the Outlaw Trail, and they followed this ridgeline of these rocks, which would be created by a channel of water at one time, climate changing way before man. And so, like I say, you're sitting in a historical area. You can read about it. You can actually put yourself there now. And back behind me, and I'll film it later, was an old homestead that some adventurous pioneer had came out here and built a dwelling out here in the middle of nowhere. So you cannot come on a hunting trip, as Theodore Roosevelt stated, without gaining knowledge for a lifetime, just through the vehicle of hunting taking you there. The killing is so far secondary that it's pathetic. You would never put yourself here unless it was for the chance to take an animal's life. But in doing so, you enrich your whole person. When you sit down at the table, you ain't talking about the stock market gains and losses. You're a pretty boring person. You can sit down and have a conversation and tell people what you've seen with these two eyes in your lifetime. And through technology, we can share it now. So let's sit back and see how this unfolds. Anyhow, thanks to Rick Johnson. He emailed me his redneck cooler. There's 3 1-gallon frozen jugs of water in there. There's cool air coming out of here. This is a 2-speed fan. It took a total of about $45 to build that. Now the battery is going to cost a little bit more, quite a bit more, but it plugs into that. You could do it with a garden tractor battery and a converter, and like I said, quiet, it's 2-speed, and it's blowing that cool air out of that cooler right on your body. So no more swamp monsters. Thanks, Rick. Yeah, another note. When I first met Chuck, he went by the nickname of High-Tech Redneck. And so there's a little high-tech redneck technology for you right there. Basically, it's a swamp cooler. So it'll give you a breath of fresh air. And if not, you got 3 gallons of water in there you can take a bath in. Once again, thanks Rick Johnson from Des Moines, Iowa. Also on that comfort note, these little tent fans are priceless. Get some air moving on you, and goes a long way. You can see my camera blowing in that. Got a nice breeze created on you, so if you sweat, that'll help cool you down. Yeah, there's no way I can get around that in this particular blind without that tent material. Hopefully I'll be able to move the camera and adjust a little bit, but that's probably going to be in the field of view. Yes, well, we got a little time here. Simple things that you can do for yourself. A piece of carpet, it's only like 2x2, doesn't weigh very much, but it sure comes in handy. You can lay it on your floor of your blind. It's invaluable. You're down to your socks, so you don't need heavy boots on. If you need to move, you can move on this ground real quiet. And just little things. Another thing, of course, you always have your bow holder of some sorts, homemade or whatever, to hold your bow in a ready position. And another thing that's really important is if you have your quiver, have your backup arrow ready to go. Because you don't want to be fumbling around. Have that right where you can get access to it instantly. And because stuff happens fast, and it's no use to having them where you can't get them. And another thing, it's nice to have your binoculars right at hand. Those binoculars I bought in 1986, so do the math, those are 30 years old. They're Jaworskis, and yes, they did cost a lot of money, and no, I'm not promoting a brand, and no, I'm not bragging, but there's 30-year-old binoculars. I've sent them into Jaworski, and both times they worked on them and got them back fully functional. So a lot to say about paying a little on the front end. There's 30-year-old set of binoculars, and they're a must out here in this big country. But have them right at hand also. Just a few things going over, and like I said, passing time, have your arrow locked and ready to rock, and this can be a long wait, but you want to bring some reading materials that passes the time, several periodicals, you can get the latest, greatest magazines. But this here, I'm sitting right where this book was written about, and it tells all the trials and tribute that people faced in this rugged forgiveness. It's unforgiving land. That's what I want to say. I mean, if you screw up out here, you're in Wyoming. You just become part of the ecosystem, no more than what you are. A mass of bones walking upright. But out here, when you're up against those big mountains out there, and that is the Outlaw Trail right there. We're looking right at it. And it runs for miles and miles and miles. Many a men have succumbed in this area, and that's a fact. It's very unforgiving land. Keep that in mind. As you sit in a blind out here, things can happen. Things can happen fast. And that's why you always want to be alert. I want to show you a situation that could have been an accident, and that's what an accident is, something not planned that just happens spontaneously. I want to show you this. You see that hole in that blind right there? A razor sharp broadhead did that. And over here, right there, moving around, fell off, and effortlessly poked the hole right through there. Now, you got to remember you're in that arena with razor sharp broadhead. That could just as easily puncture you also. Didn't like poking a hole in Chuck's blind, but that's what I said, accidents can happen. Now I'm going to pan over here and show you something to help prevent accidents. That little fan is running, and it's worth its weight in gold just to move some air across your body. But here's the safety feature of that little fan. You can stick your finger right into the blade. Nothing happens. It's a nice little fan. And I'm going to, Coleman is the one that makes it. And it runs off of 4D batteries. Like I said, it had a high, let's say high, low. So it's a 2-speed fan. But what I'm trying to show, this would prevent an accident. So accidents happen, especially when you're sitting out here for prolonged times. Most people back in Iowa that hunt out of blinds, it's only a 2 or 3 hour ordeal in a turkey blind, and then they're out of it. When you're sitting out here, it's a 10, 12 hour venue, especially this far back. When you drive back here, number one, you are going to scare the local antelope, rile them up for a little bit. It's going to take them a few hours to even settle back down. So you're in for the long duration. And that was why in the past I used to overnight in these way out blinds, for the simple fact that you didn't drive in the morning. Driving out at night's not as big an issue, but driving in the morning, as you know, that's going to be pretty disruptive. So if I elected to sleep in the blind, a few years back, that was a 92-hour stint, and I seen the Wild West, the way it woke up and the way it went to sleep, and it also kept vehicle traffic to a minimum, and so you were not boogering up the area. And that's going to happen. You're going to have to go to the blind. So unless you're prepared to overnight it, you're going to have to sit a little longer. Another helpful hint, and this can happen. If you're going to use a Gatorade bottle, which makes a good urinal for men, and if women have that funnel, they could urinate in it also. Make sure that you take the paper off so it doesn't say Gatorade. You can get out there and you could, you never know. At least you'll know what's the Gatorade and what's the recycled Gatorade. So just a little helpful tip to keep you from a very, very uncomfortable situation. Yeah, this is August 15th, 2016, out at Willow Creek in Wyoming, halfway between Casper and Buffalo, Wyoming, about right in the middle. So you're in the heart of cowboy land. Well, it's a big contrast from last year. We got a nice breeze out of the south. It just clouded up, and it's 12:30. That's just my luck. That noise you hear is rain. Oh. Haven't rained here for a month and a half. So that's a refreshing little thing. Raindrops. That thunder ain't the greatest thing. Ain't the nicest place to be with the lightning strike. Well, that baby's blowing cold air out. Put this piece of tissue there, you can see it blowing out pretty good. There's a nice cool air coming out of there. Redneck air conditioner. That apparatus right there, that Go Zero, got the built-in converter on it. It's got the converter right here and the battery right here. If you didn't have that set up, you would have a small tractor battery with a converter with alligator clips that would clip onto the converter for the motor of the fan. But pretty quiet, and that's definitely cool air coming out of there. You can see it blowing out of there. Right out of there. Thanks, Vic. This other little cooler out here, you can fill it up with ice, drinks. You never can have enough hydration out here because you never know what you're going to endure. Now, with that said, as you look out there, it's overcast and cloudy today with thunder in the background. But as sun comes out, temperature can go up at any time. Those horses are basically wild.